Welcome. This is Christ 169. I can't do that kind of crap. Anyway, guys, Christ 169 coming to you live here, pre-recorded with another video. This one is about the Panasonic 3DO dash Gold Star dash Sane 3DO. It's a fifth generation console era. It's one of what we're gonna call the garbage, the graveyard or garbage can consoles. What I mean by that is not saying that 3DO is garbage, because by far it's not. It was on par with the Sony PlayStation at that time. PlayStation came out in 95, came out in 94 ish, Japan 94, Europe 94, 93 in North America. Retail price was right around $600 or so. But let's go back. What was a 3DO? For people who are not almost 40 years old like myself, who are youngsters don't understand this kind of stuff. And even if you are in the game, you have any gaming, you might not know what the hell is 3DO. Crisis 169. What the hell is 3DO? What does it mean? I don't own one, so I really can't show it off. If I had a way to put his name down there, I will. But Adam Carrick, Carrick. His name is Adam. It's like Code Adam. Type in YouTube, bring up his last name. It's Kilkr or whatever it is. He did a real good thing on the 3DO. He did all good things on the fifth, sixth, seventh generation. He's a real good YouTuber. I talk to him occasionally, mostly on his comments, but nothing really private or anything. I don't know him personally, but that's the gentleman there to talk to if you want more information, or go watch his videos. He has pretty good production value. Of course, his thing is Figured Out Productions. If you type it into YouTube, it'll probably bring up his whole library. So Figured Out Productions by Adam Carrick. Where I got a lot of my information from, but not all of it. But I did experience some of the 3DO. A friend of mine had it. Friend, uncle, cousin, actually had one. Believe it or not, people had the damn thing. It's not considered very, very popular machine. They did say it's mostly more for made for porn, stuff like that. But it wasn't really made just for porn. It had games like Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2. The better version of it on there. There's a better version, better than Super Nintendo, but it is. It was a 3DO is was a company that we defunct about 2011, 2012. They made games. Like Army Men. Was actually created by 3DO, the company. Um, the company was conceived by Entrepreneur Electronics EA founder Trip Hawkins, who founded the 3DO. And yes, I have a Wikipedia right here in front of me. I did make some notes, but I didn't understand them at the time, so I want a little more in depth in this because the 3DO is a very interesting system. Pretty constant for its time. It's like the very interesting console to look at, even though it's part of the garbage can or Adam calls the graveyard consoles. I call them the garbage can consoles because they just garbage can they went because they didn't last very long. They passed the torch to the next console that came around until Sony came in and said, "Hey, we're here, we're home." Even though they weren't even a game console back then, they were 95, not any earlier than that. Trip Hawkins was actually one of the company's entrepreneur with EA, Electronic Arts. We know them now as the company that can't do right, that put their foot in their mouth and they blow their foot out and blow their brains at the same time. They blow their foot off and they blow their brains out like they did with the Battlefront 2 and a lot of the crap they done with Anthem. But before they became dicks and gigantic assholes, laughing stock of the gaming world, they actually was a decent gaming console. Gaming company, publisher. They were pretty good back in the day. But 3DO came about because Trip Hawkins, he conceived the 3DO because he wanted to have. His philosophy was, and there's been different stories on this. Adam told one. I'm gonna tell the same thing a little differently. But the 3DO came about was we all had a VCR player. Back then, VCRs were still around. DVDs were coming up, but not as big. They wouldn't really hit big until the PS2 around, later on down the line. But they were around. We had VCR, you had VCR, VCDs, whatever. You have multiple companies doing VCRs, Zenith, Magnavox, whatever. My Who Framed Roger Rabbit VCR tape, cassette tape, will work in either one of them. Doesn't matter. They didn't say only for Zenith or only Magnavox. And he was thinking, why do we have to have multiple game consoles for to play games? Sega has one, Nintendo has one, Sony's gonna have one eventually. Atari, the Jaguar, many consoles. Amiga CA32. Different consoles came and went. And why do we have that? Why do we have to have multiple formats? Like I said, VCR doesn't matter. DVD player. Now you have HD DVDs and Blu-ray, and yes, that's different, but that's a different format. Going back in the 90s, Trip Hawkins wanted to make a one universal console, and that what was the 3DO was supposed to be. 3DO was supposed to be a universal console that was supposed to be end all be all consoles. EA was on board because he practically co-founded or founded EA or ran or helped run EA, and they're on board. They signed the agreement to make games only for 3DO, and if they could entice Sega, it would have been pretty good. But what they needed was Sega and Nintendo. If they got on there, it's a wrap. It's all ready to go. Sony would have snowball's fucking chance in hell of making a console in '95 because you had the game console right there. They approached different companies like Activision and many other developers, make your games only for this console. And even Sega, who's been having the internal struggle at this time in the early '90s, and still did until they finally bit the big one and became a game manufacturer or a software manufacturer. This would have been great for them. And you think about it, they would have gone to them, hey, we're doing CDs now, and this is hypothetical. Trip and the Trip back Hawkins and his team could say, hey, Sega, we know you're not doing very well with the horror manufacturers. Okay, fine. Hit a plan for you. And this is once again hypothetical speculation. This is how I would approach it. If I was, in the 3DO team trying to buy, trying to get companies to, because they had no fees on the games. You can make any games you want and port them on there. Because then when people hook people into them, when get their claws into them, then they start making it rain, some fees and license agreements, whatever that. But until then, it was virtually no fees on it whatsoever. What I'm reading right now, I read a little bit before I started this. It was trying to get Sega and Nintendo to come on board. And what Sega was probably thinking about doing this anyway, but with their internal view between America, Sega America, and Sega Japan, that's the head honcho, and they're always constantly doing this. Instead of doing this, they're doing more of this, and that's Sega for you. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. And they constantly fought more, and they got along because U.S. saw success with the Genesis, and Master System was good over in Japan, but tanked over in America, and Genesis tanked over in Japan. Blah blah blah. So you can go on for hours, right? Okay. And Sega, it'll be another video I'll probably make sometime down the line. The rise and fall of Sega, and probably the final fall of Sega. They don't get their act together. Make some good games. Anyway, though, now what is the problem with what stopped them? It was that Sega didn't pull the trigger. Bang, didn't pull the trigger and come on board. If they hopped on board, now you would have had probably EA for sure, Sega, maybe even Activision, maybe even other ones hop on board. and then it would truly be Nintendo against everybody. And if, of course, 3DO Panasonic 3DO was the first one, cost $600 and came out, really expensive. But they approached Sega with this: hey, Sega, we know you're doing very well with your hardware manufacturing. You guys pretty much suck. I won't say that to them, but you pretty much suck. Why don't you guys bow out gracefully with the Genesis and Sega 32X CD, bow out gracefully, and make games only on disc, only for the 3DO. They have agreement made first 2 years, you pay no fees or whatever. I don't know. Whatever it could have been. In the first 2 years, whatever agreement, you pay no fees. After that, let's say be a small, 10%, 20% fee or whatever you'll pay. But would that be very good for you? To bow out gracefully and make only games. We support the hardware. We support 3DO systems, and every 5-10 years we'll create a new one that has more power. Yes, we need better graphics, better resolution, better games, and you get a nice big fat paycheck. We get a big fat paycheck. Everybody's happy. And some fifth dimension somewhere probably worked out and probably is right now. But here in reality land, here in the dimension we're in right now, it didn't work out that way. It got discontinued in late '96, and it died a very painful death. Its units sold was 2 million units sold. It wasn't a bad system. It wasn't a terrible system. It wasn't anything, anything, because the Japanese like 79,000 yen, $699, $700 per system. CPU was 32-bit. ARM based on a ARM architecture, blah blah. Memory is 2 megabytes of RAM. Is laughable now. But of course, the online service too. Online service is going to be a thing. Online service is going to be a good thing with 3DO, but they canceled it before they even really had a chance to even get that online service going. But 3DO. And Adam Curie, is a better example and better show than I do. Showing about this than I do. But I've seen one before. The controller has a daisy chain effect. There's no second port. The second port is on the controller itself. You pop it open, and you daisy chain off. Because they didn't know how many controller ports to put on there. Control ports are very expensive. Not nowadays. They're cheap. Just add some wireless Bluetooth interface. But back then, infrared was garbage because it's remote control infrared. And even some controllers now are becoming Bluetooth now. Some higher end TVs, I've heard. But back then, that's all you had. And it was a good system with games that were decent. Need for Speed and Madden started on 3DO, and they're all CD based. And they weren't very bad games to play. And Super Street Fighter was good. I think it got a Mortal Kombat. It got Night Trap on there. One of the better Night Traps on there. The 3DO had better Night Trap than the Sega CD did. And it kind of rivaled the PC version for a while there. But it was an interesting console that did more than what just watch porn. Yes, it had a lot of porn games on there because it had to, it had to appeal to somebody. It couldn't appeal to Mario because Mario wasn't allowed on it, and Zelda and Sonic. Okay, yeah, sure. So they had to do something. So you find a lot of these things. A friend of mine who's older, a lot older now, but he found one, in a adult type place, just sitting there, for sale. I'm like, wow, okay. So, it had no piracy issues at all. I think you can burn games, whatever. The last of the consoles, I think out of Sega Dreamcast was the last one that allowed that. But this one here was damn freaking, probably like a damn freaking, run across the battlefield thing in charge. They didn't care. So that's why it had a lot of adult entertainment on it. But you found those in some adult places that sold DVDs. You found them in, in high-end places like maybe Best Buy back then, Circuit City maybe, Radio Shack probably, but mostly like a high-end, fancy type of, stuff where you didn't wear a T-shirt and shorts to. to go buy a TV or whatever, audio system or whatever. So that's probably why it was like $700, expensive system, but it did work. The problem is though they have essentially a failing, and they did break very easily. I've heard it's very heavy, but I've held one a little bit in the store, a little bit, not much, but it was pretty heavy. It was pretty, beefy little thing. While I remember, I saw one, I do believe, in a Best Buy, I think it was, and it was sitting there. It wasn't being used, just sitting there, collecting more dust than being used practically. Of course, it had more dust on it than games probably. But that was the biggest thing. The biggest bad thing about the system could have been real potential, but it never got off the ground, literally, because people didn't have any faith in it. It wasn't that people didn't care about the gaming, because gaming is different back then. People nowadays will spend $1,000 on a graphics card. People will spend $1,200 on a phone. 93, you spent more than $300 on a game console. Your parents probably whoop your ass for wasting money. Nowadays, it's a common thing. People blow money as much to get it, and that's something that's really sad, but really how people are nowadays. 3DO, probably could do it today if they had an online capability, Blu-ray. It could be today. It could be something that could be maybe a lot better than Atari box that came out or never did. Um, but it could have been something a little better. Will we see it again? No, because 3DO went bankrupt and went defunct. I do believe. I do believe they went defunct. They didn't say they went defunct yet, but it was an interesting situation. That they tried everything from light gun support, mouse support. They tried to get companies on board to make only gaming stuff, and nope, and 3DO company will supply the hardware. All you have to do is just make games for it, and that's a pretty good deal. But it kind of takes away from individuality. It's like Ma Bell. It's like AT&T and Ma Bell. They broke up Standard Oil and they broke up Ma Bell because they got too powerful. And the game industry is the same thing. You don't have one console across the board anymore. You never had that, except Pong, and that was back in the 70s. But that was something that was unique too as well. But 3DO will go down in people's in the like gamers' heart like myself as a console that never was. It could be, but never was because it never had a chance to survive. It was DOA, on conception to birth to when it launched. It was dead in the water. They tried. They sold 2 million units in fifth generation era. It was not a bad thing. But what Adam Carey's Aaron Current talks about, the graveyard console, I call them the garbage consoles. That's one of them, and there's many lines of them. I can hear spend hours talking about how every console and what I know and seen, went in the garbage can after a few years. And 3DO had a lot of potential. It was probably the better of the multiple ones that came out because they actually had a game plan. So you know what? We're not gonna go out there and just say Sega did it, so we're gonna go out there and do it too. We're gonna have a game plan. We're gonna, get my players on the field. We're gonna try to score some touchdowns, try to score something. And they came close of having the overall. We're gonna have this here. We're gonna have this. Uh, okay. We're gonna be only console manufacturer, but it didn't work out. And it's kind of sad it didn't happen. Gold Star made one, and Panasonic one is easy to find. I've heard Gold Star is somewhat easy to find in the Snaro, SANYO. Maybe a little hard one to find. But if you find one working, that's cool. If you can't find one working, then you can go see how much they're going to cost probably for you. But right now, I think a lot of them may be pretty expensive if you can find one at all anyway, because the 3DO itself, the 3DO is probably going to be the most expensive thing you're going to see. Um, And there's decent ones here. There's a couple you can find some, you know, there's some for $200 here though. So it's not a real expensive machine. Just has to make sure it works, and that's the problem with a lot of these 3DOs. There's a lot of them out there that are being sold for 200, 300, whatever dollars. And they had games for them, and they didn't have bad games for them. And movies, they didn't have a lot of bad things for them. But I think the biggest thing that people forget to realize about the 3DO in this soon is, before I go with my final thoughts, though, about 3DO is that the console never had a chance. But this fifth generation for you. That's fifth generation for you. The garbage can, the garbage consoles, I call them. Adam, people call them the graveyard consoles, came and went. They came and went right in the garbage can. They came, went in the graveyard garbage can, to call it. They did not sit there and, they put a lot of thought in it in 3DO, but didn't know how to sell it to a lot of people because it was so damn expensive. But every console's new. Like for example, the first PS3 was like $600. Came a bunch of garbage you didn't need, but it had backwards compatibility with all the PS2 games. People wanted that somewhat. Of course, when they stripped it down, they got rid of PS2 backwards compatibility. Made it cheaper, but made a lot of enemies too. So it depends on how you look at it. Okay, so everybody has their yay and nay. You know what I mean? They're yay and nay to something. The Panther 3DO will go down in history as being one of the consoles that could have been if the gaming market at the time was a lot more flourishable than it was. You understand, though, 93 was a very interesting time. 93, 95 was an interesting time. Before the PS1 and PSX came out, gamers were getting tired of cartridges because there was, limited view. They wanted PCs, but they didn't want to use a keyboard and mouse. And like I said, the garbage consoles start throwing their names in the hat, trying to get something to stick. Of course, Sony did and became the conglomerate now. It is. But back then, it didn't happen. Um, and for that reason, that was why the 3DO missed the mark. It wasn't a Sony. It wasn't something. It wasn't something that people look into. It was good, but way too expensive at the time. And if it came out now, it probably would have had maybe a better chance. But we'll never know. Okay, guys, this is Christ once again in this video, and that'll do it for my video about the 3DO. I will talk about Sega sometime down the line, and the rise and fall of them as a hardware manufacturer, what went wrong. I'll go over my experience with them. I got my experience with the 3DO. I've seen it in a couple stores. That's about it. Friend had it, but never really played it that much. You know how it is, though. But yeah, like, subscribe down below. While you're down, like, subscribe down, turn notifications, don't ring that bell, so you know my videos come available. Peace out. I'll see you guys later.